need someone to talk to and you don't know what to do, call us 214-4400 when you're feeling all alone and they turn their back on you. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us.
Welcome to the Kind Counseling Podcast. I'm your host, Dania Roberts. Once again, we're here to give insights and to share information as well as bring light to various topics that are affecting our community at large. Kind Counseling is a mental health practice that gives hope to the hopeless through mental health empowerment and spiritual insight. And today we have a great show for you guys. We are discussing overcoming cancer with a very inspiring guest. All right, and before we introduce the guest, let me welcome my beautiful co-host, Miss Dania Roberts. Hey, what's up? Okay, she's being shy today. All right, and let me tell you a little bit about our guest. We have Miss Line Osias-Cayenne. She's an artist, mother, and wife. She has worked in higher ed for the past 21 years and currently serves in the capacity of senior program advisor and administrative coordinator for the Equal Opportunity Program at FIT Fashion Institute of Technology. Her role as advisor offers her a unique peek into the lives of young creatives as they take their educational journey. Her primary role as student advocate brings her in direct contact with the resiliency and determination of EOP students as they pursue their goals. Lynn holds an AAS, a BFA, and MFA, and she constantly tries to find small ways to inject her love of art into her life while raising her two children, Bela and Kamayu. She's a mama bear, protector, and loyal to a fault. Let's welcome Miss Line Osias-Cayenne.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And may I also say that Mrs. Line Osias-Cayenne is my sister.
Well, that would make her my sister-in-law. All right. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Lynn, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. If I can just make one minor correction, it's educational opportunity program and not equal.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's the EOP program. You said educational, right?
Education opportunity program.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. Now, actually, before we jump into why you're here, tell us a little bit about the EOP program that you run.
So the education opportunity program is what's known as access programs, and EOP is exclusive to SUNY campuses. But there is College Discovery and SEEK, which is on the CUNY end. So EOP is on the SUNY end, CUNY has College Discovery and SEEK. And so in a nutshell, it provides access to a population that would normally, or not normally, that would not have access to higher ed because of their grade point average. So every college, when they're looking at application, looks at students' grade point average. You know, every college establishes a grade point average at which they would take students in or reject them. And programs like EOP, SEEK, College Discovery, access programs say, well, you can't keep a whole population out of higher ed because they underperformed in high school. Mm-hmm. And as we know, there are different reasons why young people underperform in high school. You know, socioeconomic reasons, fooling around, clowning, whatever it is. Right. And so when EOP or access programs came into play, it really was to provide an open door for those particular population, for that particular population, I should say. And that really is EOP in a nutshell. It's so much more than that. You know, it's really a holistic approach to educating young people.
Good.
You know, we don't just look at their GPA. We look at the reasons why they may have underperformed. And when we get them in front of us, when I say in front of us, into the college setting, the goal is to get them in, but keep them in.
Okay.
And so there are a lot of resources thrown at that population for our retention, because it's not just a matter of getting them in, they have to graduate. And so we provide the resources to support them in doing that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Now,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So how did you get into EOP? Because I mean, just for the sake of the listeners, right, and the viewers, how did you get into EOP? Because you're also a graduate of Fashion Institute of Technology.
I am. I used to say, just by accident, but the more that I've been with the program 21 years. So, 21 years it's no longer an accident, right? So as I was completing my graduate's degree, I also worked at FIT. And even before graduate school, I knew that with my track of with my interests, that I wasn't really going to graduate and land a 9-to-5. I was aware of that, no one's going to pay you from 9 to 5 to just paint what you want. So I was never one that was interested in being a starving artist. That lifestyle does not work for me. So I knew that I had to have something to support. And there are some artists that really thrive off that. I'm not one of them. So I knew that I had to find something where that would provide me some form of security while being able to do my own thing. And so when I started working at FIT in a different department, opportunity came to go to EOP. And so I jumped on it. Now I have to be honest, I also wanted to work with the director who's been there. There was something about her that as a student, when I was on campus, I just gravitated to who she was as far as her representation. I didn't know anything about her. And so when the opportunity came for a position, I was like, this is somewhere that I think I could land and grow. And so I applied and got the position, and have been there for 21 years, and also it kept me applying to EOP, being hired. It kept me in a creative hub where I'm around creativity, and so that for me was a plus.
Okay.
And what's that been like? Because I know, Cammy, we don't need you today.
Clearly.
So what's that been like?
Just like hang up.
Yeah, just sit back.
Yeah, and listen. So what's that been like for you? Because your degree is in help me out. I don't even remember what your degree is in.
BFA.
Which my MFA? Which one?
Both of them. Your BFA is in what?
So my associates is in fashion design.
Mm-hmm.
My BFA is in illustration, and my MFA is in painting art history.
Okay, so now that's like a big transition from what you studied,
right?
What you graduated and are currently doing, have been doing, and are doing. So what's it been like for you working completely outside of what you studied?
Right. I guess because I went into my degrees, and really my second and third degree. I went into it kind of understanding that you're not really going to land a job doing that. Okay. And so it made it a little easier, but I can honestly say, because I'm not really doing my art now, and it hasn't been my job. It hasn't been because of my job per se, why I'm not creating, and so it helps a little bit because I am around it. Okay. And I get to speak into young people's lives and help direct that. It helps a little bit. Should I be doing more of my art? Absolutely. Do I miss it? I do. but I can't say it's because of my job, even though it's a very demanding kind of work. I can't really say that's why I haven't picked up a paintbrush. I would have to say it's the opposite. It's the wife role, the maintaining my home.
Right. I
That
was
has
just going to
probably
ask
pulled.
that. So what do you think is the reason why you haven't
I mean, well, now how much time you got?
Tammy, you could jump in whenever you can. Ready. Yeah. So you said that your job is not the reason why you haven't been creating.
It's not the main reason. It's not the main reason. If I could be transparent, I think at some level, when I first got married, first started having children, there was an abandonment, of self, because I thought, well, something has to pause. And I wasn't going to pause being a mother, and I wasn't going to pause being a wife. And so, and I don't even know if it was conscious. I just think as life became busier with being a wife, raising kids, that for me, and I don't think it's the same for every woman or every mother. For me, the thing that took the brunt was what it is that I enjoy doing. There are women that are very good at are doing both, or would have selected their careers or whatever and for me it just was, the art was for me sort of the natural loss.
Yeah. I think that's so significant because, like I said before, we're sisters, we grew up in the same home. And when I think about things like that, I think it's really and truly the way we were raised.
Yeah.
Growing up with a mother that instilled in us that once you become a wife and once you become a mother, a lot of other things gotta be put on the back burner because those are the priorities. So I definitely get that aspect of it.
If I can also add, I think there was a part of me that was also fearful. If I had totally fallen into my art and doing what I want, I think my home would have suffered.
I think got dinner, huh?
No, my home would have suffered.
Well, thank God. Thank God. You're listening to the Kind Counseling Podcast. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now back to the show.
Yeah, that's true.
So, well, all right. So Lynn, like you said, you were living your life as a professional, as a mom, as a wife, and then obviously, like in terms of what we're talking about today, like when tell us about, just walk us through as to like when you got this diagnosis, how did that happen? Tell us a little bit about that.
I was officially diagnosed in 2014, but as I look back now, I can honestly say the dynamics of it all started before 2014, and so
what kind of cancer was it that you were diagnosed with?
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So prior to 2014, I was doing what I now know I've been in a way taught to do, which was you just keep going. I come from a home where my mother was the type, she used to tell us everything has to work together, right? Yeah. And so I just kept doing it. I know it, my body didn't feel right. I was exhausted. There were certain stresses going on that I wasn't even aware of. But every morning I got up and went to work, came home, crashed, did what I had to do, got up the next day. So that actually, and I had 2 years prior. When did we buy the house? That actually was more than that. So prior to 2014, there was a lot of things going on. And I was kind of trying to keep the balls up in the air and had totally ignored the signs of my body, which was extreme fatigue. I was severely anemic. I would wake up with night sweats and just, dry myself off, go back to sleep, and just was feeling lousy, but chucked it up to, well, I mean, I can get out the bed, so keep going. So I kept going. Okay, so now fast forward, 2014, I was diagnosed in June, but all up prior months before that, I was just feeling horrible, but just kept going. And then around June, around April, May, it started to come, it started to be really bad where, I was just really feeling pain now. I was feeling fatigue, but I started to feel pain. Now I was diagnosed in June, so April, May, pain was coming on, still kept moving. And then around the end of April, early May, my legs started to swell up. My left leg started to swell up. Now you would think, you would say, nope. People in my home, Kurt, my husband was like, there's something going on. I was like, I'm okay. Went to physical therapy because I thought, that just a whole lot of things. And meanwhile, my leg was blowing up. So one day I went to work and my director, Tor Orange, she said to me, because I was literally limping.
Wow.
And one day she looked at me and she said, don't come back here. She said, don't come back here. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, you're literally dragging your leg. Don't come back here. And she said, you better go to a hospital. And she said, and don't leave until they tell you what's wrong.
Okay.
And so I didn't go back to work, but I also didn't go to the hospital. So I stayed home. And the pain in my leg was just, it was to a point where I could, I had 2 floors to my house that I just stayed upstairs. My husband was like, this isn't normal. You've got to. I was like, no, I'm okay. I can, I'm okay. My leg is getting bigger and bigger.
Wow.
And then it was just one night, I don't remember the day, but sometime before, in June, where I didn't realize that I hadn't been downstairs in like a week and a half because it was just too painful to go down. And I think he might have called out to, I don't know, maybe you, Dania, or Mommy, to say something is not right because she's not able to come downstairs. But that's not even when I went to the hospital. It was, I'm trying to think back and forgive me because, everything kind of merged.
Sure.
I think I was home and had to go pick up Kamayu from school. And the pain was so bad that I think I ended up in the emergency room or something like that. I ended up in the emergency room.
All right.
And I remember the doctor saying, no, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm getting it confused. Sorry. What happened was that even though everybody was saying you need to go get it checked out, you need to go checked out, I was also having severe back pains. And so my medical doctor recommended that I go into therapy, physical therapy.
Okay.
It was the physical therapist that recognized that I wasn't able to lift my leg up.
Okay.
Like when I lay down and, he was having me do exercises by, just to strengthen my back, I wasn't able to lift my left leg. And he was like, that's not your back. There's something else going on. He said, it's almost like the leg and the leg. So one leg was blowing up and one leg was shrinking.
Wow.
And he was like, that has nothing to do with your back. He said, I don't know what it is, but there's something else operating where, because he would hit it with the little hammer, dead. He said, it's almost like the leg is dead. There's something going on. He says, nothing else I can do for you. You need to go see a doctor. And so that's when it started to progress. I went back to my medical doctor the therapist said, nothing's going on. And then she started to say, yeah, maybe we need to do some more exams. I'm going to send you to an oncologist.
Okay.
And by that time, the pain was like on 20. And I'm
Wow.
still kind of limping around. When I got to the oncologist, did some blood work, um, and sent me home because he said we had to do some blood work, sent me home. And I had a follow-up date to come back and get the results. Between seeing the oncologist and the follow-up date, the pain got so bad that I took myself to the emergency room. Actually, that's what happened. I took myself to the emergency room after picking up Bayla and Kamayu from school. And so that was June 18th. I'll never forget that because it was also Mimi's birthday. And so once they did the test, put me through the scanner and everything, I had blood clots all over my left leg.
Wow.
And I remember the nurse saying, I was still in the room. Now I hadn't gotten the cancer diagnosis, but I remember her saying, "Oh, you're not going home tonight." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "No, you're not going home tonight." I said, "Are you sure?" I said, "What are you seeing?" She said, "Well, I can't tell you in detail." She said, "But once I get this to the doctor, they're not going to send you home." And what she was seeing was I had blood clots all over my leg.
Wow.
And that started the journey.
Yeah.
So do you remember when you were first diagnosed, like when they said that to you? Like, do you remember that moment, and how did that hit you?
Oh boy, yeah, I do remember that moment. I'm gonna act it out for you.
You gonna act it out?
I'm gonna act it out for you. So by that time, I was admitted to the hospital. I don't remember the day, and I remember my doctor came in. Now by that point, I had started. There was stuff like what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. And and I used to say something really silly to myself, which, well, I'm a cancer, so I know I'm not going to get cancer. Don't ask me what the reasoning was, right? Don't even ask me.
Okay.
But I remember being in the room, and my doctor came in, and he said to me, he said, I have really serious news. And he said, there really is a bright side to this. He said, it is cancer. Now, when he says cancer, the room started to
Nothing
dim.
else.
The room started to dim. I could still hear him, but it started to get dim. And he said to me, you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2. But if you were to get cancer, this would be the cancer that you would want. He said, because it's very treatable.
Okay.
After he said stage 2, I heard him, but it really did go to wah, 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 wah.
Really?
Pitch, like the room just got dark.
Wow.
And all I heard was wah, 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 wah. So while he said that, and then I kind of came back, and tears were rolling because I was just like, I got things to do. I got supermarket to go this weekend. That's just how my brain was operating. I gotta go to supermarket. I had left a stack of bills at home. But in that moment, what I remember saying to myself was, "Oh no, this is not an option." And he started to talk to me about what the options were. Whoosh! All that stuff. I heard chemo. I heard, and that's really how I heard. I didn't hear full sentences. My brain picked up some keywords: chemo, bone marrow. And in the middle of that, I just, something in me was, I don't know if it was annoyed or if I was just overwhelmed, but I said to him, whatever you need to do, do it. And I said to him, and I remember saying, I don't know what you're saying to me. I said, I don't know what you're saying to me, but whatever you need to do, do it. And that's the last I remember about that conversation. He left. I started to cry some more. The next person I called was, I think I called Kurt first, because he had been calling and couldn't reach me. And I remember calling him saying, it's cancer.
Wow.
And he, I could hear it in his voice, like, go, but his response was, okay. And then I said to him, I'll talk to you later. Let me call. And I think I called you second, Dania. And I was like, yep, it's cancer. You know, I don't remember the conversation. You probably remember it more than I do. And I said, if you can call mommy and let mommy and daddy know. And then I hung up, and it's just strange how my brain works. I remember saying to myself, okay, cry it out, get it out, because you don't have time to stay on this. Cry it out, get it out. I mean, this was a conversation I remember saying to myself, because you have to fight. You've got 2 young kids you got to raise. You know, you got a husband. You don't have time to be, you know, to not fight. And it really was in that moment, scared as all get out, that I remember saying to myself, I've got 0 seconds to cry this out, and then I gotta get to fighting. I don't have time to be consumed by it, you know. And so I did that. I boohooed really bad, because I boohooed because I didn't know, and I didn't know what I could do, you know. And I really had to kind of rely on the doctors, you know. And I had 0 control over anything.
Yeah.
I cried it out of my system, cried it out of my system. And then, you know, more doctors started coming in and talking to me. And with everyone that came in, the only thing I would say to them, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
That's all. Because everything else was just too grand for me to understand the implications of, you know, bone marrow. Okay, I didn't know. So I said, just do what you got to do, you know. And I said to my doctor, I don't know what all that is. I don't know what all of that is. You know, I had already resolved myself. I'm going to lose my hair, you know, sort of prep talking myself like, girl, this is a fight. So you're going to have to fight. And that was it.
Yeah. Something that sort of sticks out to me, though, while you're talking is just that line of thinking that, and it's very profound to hear you say that you were experiencing the fatigue, you were experiencing the pain, your body was breaking down, but there's something in you that said, I gotta go food shopping.
Right. Yep.
The Haitian way.
Like,
there you go.
Yeah. I mean, yep. I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, something is wrong with that, because you
Absolutely.
know we're cut from the same cloth, right? And yep. I know when I'm sick, I'm always thinking about, oh my God, I got to do laundry. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's just hearing you say that. It's like, yeah, something has to change where that's concerned, because I remember when your legs started swelling and you were going to therapy and all of that. And I had my concerns. I didn't voice them, but you know, I kept saying to myself, well, when are they going to actually figure out what's going on with her? Yeah. You know, because I didn't know what it was either, obviously, but you know, I knew that it wasn't something that therapy could resolve. And I just kept saying to myself, well, when are they going to figure this out? Right. But you still kept going.
I sure did.
I know that's something that comes from our upbringing.
Right. And it wasn't because, you know, the people in my house weren't saying it. I mean, Kurt was saying that from day one. And I was just like, it's all right. You know, I mean, I don't think I realized. I mean, I remember there was one day the pain was so bad. And I was getting to work. I wasn't getting to work on time. I was getting to work early. And it was one day I was in excruciating pain. Got on the train, went to work. Now, I get off at Penn Station. I work on 27th. So not a long walk at all. That I had to stop at Panera Bread was there at the time, which is sort of midpoint between Penn Station and my job. I had to stop at Penn Station, at Panera Bread, to catch my breath. That's how bad the pain was. Sometimes I would get to work and just kneel in front of I had a little bench, just to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Nothing said to me, you can't keep doing this. like it was gonna go away.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Meanwhile, my leg is getting bigger. Now my leg is getting bigger, but I'm losing weight.
Yes, that's what I was
Oh,
gonna
wow.
say. You
Wow.
started losing a lot of weight, and it was
Yeah.
unexplainable. Like we were like,
Right.
"What's going on? What are you doing?" Yeah, I remember that as well. Hmm.
And there's a woman that I work with, who's a PA, and she said she noticed that, and she said, but she can't diagnose that. That's not, you can't do that. But I remember her saying, you really need to go check that out. You really, I mean, so it wasn't like I wasn't hearing it.
Hmm.
Wasn't like I wasn't hearing it, but
Yeah.
So Lynn, I got a question for you. So
Mhm.
you keep and you keep saying or referencing your upbringing, right?
yeah.
So what specifically about your upbringing you think influenced this mindset of like I gotta keep going, even though my leg's about to fall off, I'm in a whole bunch of pain, can barely walk, I gotta keep
Mhm.
going. Like what specifically in your upbringing?
Well, I think for me, it was watching my mother um, keep all the balls in the air.
Hmm.
You know, and I think my mother experienced extreme fatigue.
Hmm.
I think emotionally and physically. But I grew up watching her keep all the balls in the air, and really not doing,
Yeah.
always doing. I mean, come home from work, barely takes off her coat. There's a broom in her hand. Now, I'm not saying that was the right way,
Right.
but that's what I saw growing up. And so I think I picked that up,
Yeah.
where it's like, well, and if you're not doing it, instead of asking you to do it, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
I'll
I
just do
also
it.
think too, to add to that, mommy went through a season of illness when she had
Yeah.
the thyroid.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also, looking back on it now, and Lynn, I know you remember this.
Mm-hmm.
My mother has thyroid disease. Our mother
Yeah.
has thyroid disease. And before she was diagnosed with it, she too was going through a period where she started losing a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
Her eyes started to bulge, and she just kept on going to work,
Right. Right.
until she was diagnosed and had to take the time off from work to get better. But she
Mm-hmm.
had lost a lot of weight, and just kept going.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So
I remember that it was our cousin from Canada that came down and went ballistic on us. She was like, "Are you all blind?
Wow.
Your mother is on the verge of death."
Mm.
yeah,
I mean, we saw she was losing weight, but we were like, okay, and
Right.
she
yeah, we
was
were
like, "Your
kids.
mother's ill."
Yeah, because I was in high school, so that means you were probably
Yeah.
in either last year of high school or maybe first year of college or whatever. I didn't even understand what was going on.
Yeah. No, we were younger. I think we were younger.
No, I remember being in high school because I actually went to a doctor's visit with her
Oh,
after
okay.
she was diagnosed with it, and when they were giving her the medicine. And I remember what I asked the doctor was, is this fatal? Because
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of this. I didn't know what
Yeah.
was going on. So, but I do remember being in high school, maybe sophomore, junior, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
yeah.
now, so Lynn, so you come home, you got this diagnosis, you got to tell your kids about this. What was that like?
Mm.
We didn't tell him right off.
Okay.
Kamayu was younger, but we didn't tell Bayla, because we Bayla, she takes things on, right? And so we had decided that we weren't going to tell her. Now she has seen me losing weight. She was there when cut my hair, but we didn't tell her. The way that she found out was we had gone to a store, to our local Walgreens, and a friend of hers saw me. By that time, I had lost my hair. I was thin.
Okay.
And the friend was like, "Does your mother have cancer?"
Oh, wow. Really?
And so she came home, and when we got home, she was like, "What is that?" And so we were able to explain it to her. But I think what helped with that, I mean, we had the conversation, told her that mommy was going to be okay, blah blah blah. But they never really, except for the days that I had chemo, you wouldn't know I was sick.
Yeah.
And so they never really saw me until later on in my treatment. They never really saw me bedridden, you know? And so I think that helped them with the concept of mommy's going to be okay. And even the days that I felt horrible, that would be a day or two, and then I was up.
So you were still being strong.
Well, I mean, yes, but that was part of my fight. Like I could not, unless I really could not, just lay around. You know, for me, you know, as I think back now, it was important for me to, when I felt good enough, to get up and do something. I didn't want to just lay in the bed. You know, I didn't, and you know, and I wasn't doing what I normally did, but I also didn't just want to lay around. You know, that for me felt defeated, and I didn't want to feel defeated. So when I felt good enough, I got up, you know, went and sat downstairs in the living room. I wasn't doing much cooking. Kurt's mother was a wonderful help during that time. But they never really saw me down and out. And I think that helped them not be okay with it, but understand that mommy's gonna be okay.
I'm gonna ask you, how much did you think about death or dying, like in those instances?
Oh no, I wasn't thinking about that. I was
At
like,
all?
God, listen, I'm not ready to die.
You're not ready to go? Is that what you said?
God. I was like, God, let me tell you
Things to do.
something. Right. I was like, God, that's not really an option. I'm not. I mean, of course you think about it. See, for people ask me, was it scary going through cancer? When you're going through cancer, it's either it's going to take you down, or you're going to fight like heck. I was on that end. I'm going to fight like heck.
Okay.
The scary part about, for me, and I've heard other cancer survivors say it, is sort of after you've gone through cancer, is the notion of, will it come back? But when you're going through it, you're not really, like I said, you know, if you've decided that you're going to fight through it, you don't really entertain death. You just know that death can be an option.
Okay. All right. Wow, there's a heavy conversation, obviously. I mean, it's you know, obviously this is how long you've been in remission now. The cancer's been in remission now.
So I started my treatment in
2014.
2014 of July. July 2014, I think, on my birthday was my first chemo session. By October of 2014, I was in remission.
Okay. All right. So it's been 8 years now.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess just after, you know, that whole process with the chemo and you know, finding out that it's in remission, like what was your life like? Did your life change dramatically after that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So the best way I could think about, I can explain it is that even though cancer is in many cases a death sentence, I didn't realize that I had been sleepwalking prior to cancer.
Sleepwalking. Okay.
Sleepwalking through my life.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
And so cancer woke me up. Period.
Wow.
Period. You know, I mean, that's the only way that I can. I'm very aware, you know, that at 44 I could have been dead, and that I had been sleepwalking. You know, sleepwalking, pacifying. I mean, name it, I was probably doing it. You know, numbing. You know, I had put on a lot of weight. I mean, just sleepwalking. I didn't realize that I was stressed the heck out.
Okay.
I was sad. You know, my marriage was stagnant. I mean, it was just. I was probably more dead before cancer.
That's interesting.
My walk with God was, very transactional.
Mm. Mm.
And then cancer woke me right on up.
Wow.
Mm. I like that. That's a yeah. More dead before the cancer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. I felt, I didn't realize that that I really, just kind of sleepwalking, going through the motions and numbing yourself and, not having the answers and knowing things are not right in your marriage, but not really being too busy to even entertain. I mean, just dead.
So what changes have you made after cancer? You're in remission now. Is there anything that you did after that to sort of right the wrongs? And I certainly hope that when you're not feeling well, you go and you lay down.
Well, that's known in my house. I will drop whatever it is in the middle of whatever I'm doing.
Good.
And be like, I'm tired. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Everybody in my house know about that.
Yeah.
I say it more too. See, prior to that, even though it was written all over my body, I never said it. Now I'm tired. I'm tired.
Okay.
And I don't look to make an excuse for it. I don't apologize for it. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, you do not get any more of my brain cells for the day. No more.
Yeah.
Figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Or if it's something that you can figure out, don't ask me for my brain cells for it.
Okay.
I wish I could say that my diet has gotten, and it has gotten better. It's not where it should be. I think if I can pinpoint what has changed the most.
You became pescatarian after that.
Yeah, I did. That's big, yeah. But I find plenty more to make up for the junk.
Okay.
Plenty more substitutions. So I could definitely do better with that. But I think the biggest change for me was I don't deny what I'm aware of anymore.
Okay.
That's interesting.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning that if I'm aware of something, whether it be emotionally, physically, whatever, I don't numb it. I don't overlook it. I'm like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay, I have no idea how to deal with this. I am aware. It's almost, and sometimes it's not like I'm just more aware of things. Like, my hearing, my like, I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, that nothing is nothing anymore. I guess I don't know if I'm explaining it right. Nothing is just nothing anymore.
Right. So in other words, if you become aware of something, you don't ignore it like you did before. You pay attention to it.
Yeah, I pay attention to it. I park it if I have to. If something becomes aware, but I don't really know what it is, I park it as opposed to burying it.
Right.
I mean, that's and in terms of mental health, that's a huge issue for a lot of people, especially I think in the African American and Caribbean community, which it's like some people say it's because of slavery, but just the mindset is just like you said, get over it, keep it moving. Don't let this thing drag you down. Don't get distracted. You got to focus, right? But I'm hearing you saying the opposite, which is like, nah, this thing is killing me. I need to stop. I need to pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I think before for me it was, and it's all hindsight now. I think for me before, it felt like it would have taken more work, which is crazy thinking, but that was the mindset. It felt like it would have taken more work to deal with the issue.
Right.
To stop and deal with the issue felt like more work. And I didn't realize that really I didn't have the bandwidth for that. I was so depleted that I didn't have the bandwidth. So I rather just getting up and going to work. That was easier in a strange warped kind of way because I didn't have the bandwidth to problem solve another thing. Nope. Wow. I know that. I know my leg hurt. So I'll just keep going. To stop and figure it out. I didn't have the bandwidth for that.
So it's almost like you didn't have a choice, like at this point. Meaning in terms of you had to get to a point where you didn't have a choice.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly that. I mean, when your boss is telling you don't come back here,
that is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
I didn't
God for
have
your
nowhere to
boss.
go.
Thank God for your boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question. What would you say to people in that maybe recently got a cancer diagnosis, or something similar to your situation? Like what kind of feedback or advice would you give to people in that situation?
And it sounds cliche, but it's so important, which is fight.
Mm.
Fight like your life depends on it. And for everyone, the fight is different. My faith got me through. I share this. I think I shared this story with you also, Dania. So the night that I was diagnosed, after the initial shock, after the initial I'm gonna fight, full-blown rage overcame me. Full-blown rage.
Okay.
Like, really? Like this is what I have to deal with? Really? And so I was in a room at the time by myself. This is after Kurt had come, visited, went home, blah, blah, blah. And I was left with the diagnosis and everything else that follows that. And so that same evening, there was a woman that became, I don't really remember when she rolled in, but she rolled in. They rolled her in. And she was also sick. But she looked like death. Death, just pure death. And I remember thinking, having my conversation, one of my many conversations with God, like, God, like, what are you doing? Like, why would you allow this person to be my roommate? She's dead. She looks dead.
Okay.
Is that a telltale sign? Like, what are you trying to tell me? And all I remember was she just looked dead, and she had her family around her. Apparently, this was like a second or third bout with cancer, and she wasn't doing well. So I have that image of her. By the next morning, she was gone. She was gone. But then they rolled. So it's night 2. I had fallen asleep, and when I woke up, I had a roommate. And I remember saying to myself, she better not even come over here. I had my curtain drawn. I pulled it. I was like, she better. I don't want to talk to nobody. A Black woman. I don't want to talk to nobody. Just leave me alone. Sit in your corner. Don't bother me. Leave me alone. Didn't say a word to her. And she tried. I was like, didn't say a word to her. So nightfall comes, and I could tell she was walking up and down. I did everything to send a signal. Don't walk over here. Walk up and down over there. So every time the curtain moved, the curtain that separates 2 bedrooms, every time it kind of moves a little bit, I would get up and shut it closed. Every time she would go to the bathroom, turn my back, everything that I could do to send the signal, I don't want to talk to you.
Okay.
So that night when it was getting late, she was about to go to bed, I heard her say, excuse me. I was like, what don't you understand about I don't want you coming over here? Okay. I didn't say that, but that was my facial expression.
All right.
And she said, excuse me, she said it again. And I don't know what I said, yes, or and she said, I don't mean to bother you. And she said, if I could be honest, it's not me who's doing this. She said, I don't even know what I'm doing this. She said, but I have a message for you.
Wow.
So I'm looking at her like, here we go. And she said to me, I want you to know that the Lord has told me to tell you that I will never leave you nor forsake you.
Wow.
So I was like,
wow. Oh, wow. Wow.
Don't let me shout it here.
Wow.
I was like,
wow.
And I must have said something like, thank you. or whatever. Because, at that point, I heard it loud and clear, but it didn't register until years later, really. And she said, I have a book for you. Can I give it to you? And I must have grunted something or whatever. To this day, I have no idea where the book is. When I woke up the next morning, there was nobody in the room.
Wow.
When I asked the nurse, what happened to the lady? The nurse said, what lady?
Oh, wow. Okay.
I said, huh?
Visitation.
I said, what? And she said, and she thought I was referring to the first roommate. And I said, no, a Black woman. And she said, now whoever was in the room
right.
was as real as I'm talking to you now.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And so I say that to say, long way to say that my faith, there were times my faith dragged me along, and there were times I ran to it.
Okay.
And so for anyone that would have received a diagnosis of cancer, yeah, it's like a boom. But you have to make a decision in that moment. Really, in that moment, I didn't allow any time to last in my decision. In whatever I've got to do, I'm going to do it.
All right.
And that I have to fight, and then you get the certain different weapons in your fight, your faith, support group, whatever it is.
Last question for me, Lynn. You said you were filled with rage, right? Who are you angry at?
Everybody and everything. The ant walking across the floor, everyone and everything. But mainly, as I'm able to probably at myself. Like what? Like dude. Like what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't Kurt and Pete, my cancer probably would have went to stage 4.
Yeah.
Because if it was up to me, I would have kept going.
Yeah.
I kept popping Tylenol. It would numb the pain a little bit. It's like, girl, like you that dead? Like what's wrong with you? Like, how did you allow yourself to get there?
Yeah.
They could have caught it pre-cancer. They could have caught it stage 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said to me
about your doctor who sent you to therapy.
Yeah.
Like, why? You know why?
You know why she sent me to therapy? She sent me to therapy because when I went to see her, I was the doctor. I never indicated anything about my leg. It was my back.
Okay.
So, but she never saw your leg swelling up.
No, because by that point it was swelling. It was swelling up, but it wasn't big like when you all had seen it. So, and I went in there self-diagnosing. My back is really hurt. I mean, she even sent me to do an MRI, all of that. It didn't pick up the cancer because they weren't really looking for that. They didn't even go that far. They did it on my back. That's when they just discovered that I had a herniated disc and blah. So she sent me to therapy for that. It was a physical therapist as he's doing his work. And he realized that when he's telling me lift my leg, and I'm like, I am. And he's like, you're not. That he's like, there's something going on other than that. Because he said you've lost mobility in your leg.
Right.
Which is why he sent me back to her.
Okay.
Well, Lynn, I mean, you I guess thank you for being so transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes people come on and they're a little hesitant, but thank you for just being real,
Yeah.
What would I be hesitant about? I had cancer.
Well,
and that's another thing. There was some stigma around that until I was like, girl, stop it. Like, girl, you have cancer. Cut it out.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
It is what it is, right?
It is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't have chosen it. I got cancer. That's why it was never an issue for me to walk with my bald head. I mean, it wouldn't have been an issue with or without cancer. But I've had women say to me, "Oh, and I'm like, no, there's other things I worry about. Walking around with a bald head and people thinking I have cancer, had cancer, least of my worries. Don't care."
Okay. Sounds like you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much. Oh my goodness. Don, you have any last questions?
No, not really. I mean, I think this story has been very inspirational. I think somebody's going to be helped by this. Even the attitude around it. But I did want to ask you though, do you think the stage that you were diagnosed in helped you to have a little more resolve to fight? Because I think it's a little different when they're telling you have stage 4, right? And it's a little different based on the type of cancer you might be diagnosed with, right? Like, for example, just to, Cammy, your cousin who was diagnosed when he was diagnosed, stage 4, it was colon, right?
Pancreatic.
Stage 4 pancreatic, right? So how much, I guess the thing I'm asking is, you're going to fight, you're going to do what you can, but how much resolve can there be when they're telling you have stage 4 cancer?
Well, I can honestly say that, I mean, for me, I don't know about other people and have, hearing the diagnosis of you have cancer. It didn't matter to me in the sense where it might as well have been stage 4. And I think when someone hear you have cancer, you don't hear anything else other than you have cancer. And for me, I didn't know what that meant. Stage 1, stage 2, I didn't know what that meant. With my type of cancer, it's a blood cancer. And so, there were concerns that, that it gotten into my bone marrow. Right. And with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you don't really know what caused cancer, what caused the cancer. That's sort of the big mystery. Nobody knows how one contracts or gets non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. All you know is that it's in your lymph nodes, and it could travel anywhere in your body. And so for me, I'm sure that if I had gotten stage 4 cancer, it would have been a different level of treatment. It would have been a different. But I don't know when you hear that if you're not thinking about that. If they had said you had pre-cancer, you would have freaked out, right? It's just the word cancer in itself. I think the resolve and the decision. I don't know if that's how I'm wired, or if it would have been somebody different, they would have. I just knew that whatever you have to do, do it. I had people that I would go to treatment with that said, oh, they didn't want to do the cancer, they didn't want to do the chemo, and I'm thinking, you didn't want to do the chemo. Like, to me, that wasn't even an option. I had people say, well, I didn't want to lose my hair. And I'm thinking, like, you're not doing chemo because you don't want to lose your hair.
Right.
And so they waited, and now, they can't. And those were never questions for me. I'm like, do whatever. If my skin had to fall off, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. And it was brutal because my cancer was aggressive. So my doctors came at me with double barrel. It was brutal. I mean, I still have the side effects now, but do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
I remember those trips to the radiation and all of that.
Yep.
Because they started.
And the radiation didn't do anything.
Right?
Yeah, the radiation didn't do anything. That was it. That was an attempt to
slow it down.
Not to slow it down because of the swelling, because I had the blood clots were in my groin, so they were trying to shrink. But my doctor already told me this isn't even for the cancer. This is to try to shrink the blood clots so that the blood flow can continue in my leg. It didn't work anyway. But I was like, okay, where I gotta go.
All right. Well, Lynn, like I said, thank you so much for being so transparent and just being willing to share your story. We really appreciate you coming on and, just sharing.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You know, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're
Lots
welcome.
of words.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words because I think this is the first time I've heard you really openly talk about it. I mean, I think you take it for granted when you see people. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, you know what they're dealing with or whatever. But to hear it in your words, though, it's really impactful. Really impactful.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you.
And it's gonna help, whoever hears this.
I
Yeah.
hope so. I hope there's because there people are getting diagnosed daily, whether from breast cancer to that they get a little hope, and that your darkest days, if for me, what used to help me at like by the third day of my treatment, when it was just like the room was black, I mean you just feel like poo, and I would just crack my shade in my room. I was like, if I could just see a little sunlight,
Yeah.
that's some hope. God is still God is still on the throne. The sun is still shining. I'm good. Whatever you had to do, to get through those dark days of chemo. Chemo is a beast.
Yeah.
That's one thing I would tell someone. Yeah, you should, because it can kill you. The chemo itself can kill you. I mean, it just strips you everything. It's the idea of stripping you to build you back up.
Right.
It can kill you, and so you need a lot of support and grit
Mm.
to get through chemo days. No joke.
Mm.
Oh boy. All right. So, Lynn, we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay,
And
I can come back.
hey, feel free.
Part two.
I can come back part 2.
Feel free. People always say that. I got more.
Right?
Yeah. But thanks again, Lynn. We appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
We're glad that you're still here.
Yep.
And
No, you're not getting rid of me that easy.
yeah, good.
That's right.
Good. All right, we'll talk. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm gonna call you right after we get off of this call.
Talk about you, Cammie.
All right.
If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy.